Hello there guys, and welcome back to another episode of Rebuilding Histon. And in today's episode we have got one of the biggest games of the season coming up. It's a home match against Salisbury, who are just ahead of us in the league. Before we get into that, let's get into the fixtures that have been happening since you were last with us, which was the fantastic 2-0 victory at home to Brackley. Unfortunately though, we ended up losing our first game in quite a while. The first time we'd lost since the Merthyr Town game, first time we've lost in 2019. It was a home defeat to Dunstable, who were a team that was sitting in the relegation zone when we played them. I think they were quite cut adrift as well in the relegation zone. It looked as if we were going to be on the way to a fantastic victory with a opening up a 2-0 gap by 30 minutes through goals from James Difford and Josh Green. However, Rommel Palmer had other ideas. Put one back after 35 minutes before equalising after 51, before Ben Clark then scored what would be the winner for Dunstable in order for them to win this match and end our unbeaten streak of 2019 in front of a crowd of 567 fans, which was a bit disappointing in the end that we weren't able to give those fans a win. But one of those things, the winning streak had to come to an end at some point. The unbeaten run had to come to an end at some point. But apparently, though, the fans enjoyed the day outing despite the defeat. So let's hope we get more fans in the future that come to this particular match, come to games in the future, because I think this game was targeted by the board as a fan day or something like that to try and attract more fans. So fingers crossed that's going to help us out and get us more fans coming into the stadium. But we did bounce back, thankfully, against Magletsfield, where we managed to pick up a 3-0 victory. Josh Green once again scoring, and then Steve Reed made it 2-0 after 18 minutes. George Cole then got sent off for Magletsfield after 47 minutes, picking up his second bookable offence, before James Difford wrapped up the points after 50 minutes to win the game 3-0. It was a fantastic result, and it was a good way to bounce back from the disappointing defeat that we had at the weekend. We then followed that up with a 3-1 victory away at Weymouth. Weymouth. Hazen Yedding. I don't know why I said Weymouth. Jamie Anton opened the scoring after 4 minutes for Hazen Yedding, and it just took us until the 74th minute to get the goal back. But it was a great, fantastic piece of play from James Difford, though, scoring a hat-trick in the space of 15 minutes to win us the game 3-1. Absolutely amazing stuff from the team there to come back from a 1-0 deficit after so long, being behind for 70 minutes, and then scoring 3 goals in the space of 15 minutes. Absolutely fantastic. It was a massive momentum swinger as well for us, especially at this stage in the league. And then the final game we played before the Salisbury match was a home match against Leamington, which we managed to win only 1-0. Goal coming in the 6th minute through Harry Osborne. Great. I think it was from a set piece. I'm pretty sure it wasn't from a set piece. And that was pretty much the only highlights of the entire match. I mean, Leamington didn't really create anything, and we were happy to take that 1-0 victory. And it was very, very important again to get. Also, it's a clean sheet as well, which is fantastic. It's another 3 points onto the board. And in terms of the league, you might have seen it earlier on, we are now just 1 point behind Salisbury with just 10 games remaining. So this next match may not decide who's going to win the league, but it will go a long way to, think who's going to have the momentum going into the last 9-10 games of the season. Josh Green is now level with Dan Fitcher on the top goal scorers list of 27, and James Difford is now third on 19. And as you can see, we've actually got an 8-point gap now over third place Merthyr Town, so it's really a 2-horse race at the moment between Salisbury and Histon, and then there's a big fight from Dorchester in 4th all the way down to Weymouth in 8th as to who's going to get into the playoffs. Looks like Merthyr Town should be okay in the playoffs, as they've got a 5-point gap and a 7-point gap over the current 6th place team in Truro, although they do have a couple of games in hand, so they might get reeled in by Truro if they win those matches in hand. So, yeah, and as I mentioned before, Dunstable were in the relegation zone. They're currently 11 points out from safety, so that was a poor defeat in the end, but one of those things, I guess, and it's going to happen every now and again where a team that's really, really struggling all of a sudden wins against the top team. One of those things, I guess, but it didn't really affect us in terms of the overall league position. We're still only 1 point behind, and depending on what happens today, we might end up being in the lead as it stands, or at the end of the day. So, without further ado, let's go into the match. It's a home game against Salisbury. I think we have a pretty good record against them. Yes, we do. We've won 3 times against them and only drawn once. So, we've played 3 times against them. We've won 2 and drawn 1. So, Salisbury have yet to beat us so far in the save, so let's hope that doesn't come back to haunt us. In terms of the team selection we're going to go for, we're going to have Reece Bills in goal, because I think we need our best keeper in the net. Colgan has made a couple of good appearances recently. He did get a clean sheet in the last game against Leamington, but I want to have my first choice goalkeeper in there for this match, especially as he's now 4 stars according to his ability. We've now got Osifiwa, Osborne, Utteridge and Carrillo at the back 4 positions. Utteridge and Osifiwa on yellow cards, so 1 yellow card away from suspension, unfortunately. So it looks like Utteridge might be suspended a little bit later on in the season, with currently Danny Waldron and Simeon May playing in the midfield roles, because Callum Frew is suspended, Alfie Davidson is injured, and Phil Wolfe is just about coming back from injury, I think. Although he is on 96%, but I'd rather play Simeon May at deep line playmaker, as he's better at the role than Phil Wolfe. And I'll bring on Phil Wolfe for Danny Waldron a bit later on in the game. Got Steve Reed attacking mid right with Justin May on the left. Although Steve Reed had a 6.4 last time he played. Maybe I play Simon Bonner? Actually, I'm going to play Simon Bonner for this next game, because he's on a 6 point. He got a 6.6 last time out. Got Justin May on the left, who had a 6.8, and then Difford and Green up front, as always. Or most 9 times out of 10 it's been that. A couple of times Marshall Katung has deputised, but he's going to be on the bench today with alongside Colcan, Goff, Wolf and Reed. And without further ado, let us begin this game. It's a really, really important match. We went on defensive positioning from this, so I wouldn't be fussed if we ended up picking up a draw out of this match, because then it means that we're still only 1 point back, and we've got a reasonable cushion ahead of Merthyr Town for us to not be affected too badly if we do end up drawing and they end up winning their match, which is away at St Neots, who are currently sitting in 9th place. So let's get into the game. We've got a couple of questions first. Carrillo set to make his 100th appearance at the club. I'm going to go for that, and hopefully that will give him some momentum in this particular game. Looks like they're playing a wing-back roles here. Marley Blair is a player I recognise. Jazz Wallace is also another player that has played very well. Marley Blair, Jazz Wallace are the 2 strikers, which are players we need to watch out, as is Dan Fitchett, who's the man who's their current top goal scorer at the moment and is level with Green, as I mentioned before. We're going to be closing down the fullbacks as well, because they are wing backs and they're going to be providing that width and the crosses into the box right now. So we're going to go for that. Hopefully that we're able to do this, and we're on a good run apparently, but we need to keep our feet on the ground. We don't get them don't get them too overhyped, such that we won't play properly. Let's I'm going to go for that, because then it's not too much saying we could go top of the league if we win this match. So looks like the team is happy with that team talk. Let's go into the game after we've spoken to the strikers. Green looks to have gained confidence, which is fantastic. Let's hope he can score today and actually take over the lead in the goal scorers race as we now begin the game. Looks like Salisbury are going to be kicking off this match. I don't understand why it's taking a little bit longer. There we go. Marley Blair kicks it off for Salisbury as they kick off from right to left, and here's the goalkeeper Parks, who loose up forward towards Blair, but it's headed by Utteridge, and that's the end of the highlights. Goal kick for Salisbury, ball up towards Blair, which is headed down by Blair. Here's Wallace, back to Pike, to Reynolds. Here's Finney, he might have a chance of pulling it through to Wallace, and he has done, and he's scored. It's 1-0 Salisbury. That's not the great start. The man I already singled out as an important player for Salisbury has scored. I've fallen into the Delujo trap there of naming a player beforehand. Okay, here's the highlight. Reynolds with a nice ball to Finney, who then threads it through to Wallace right there, who then beats Bills at his near post. Really disappointing that Bills wasn't able to save that, but it must have been a very good shot from Wallace. Very precise, such that Bills couldn't get to it. And Merthyr Town have taken the lead against St Neots, so they're now, as it stands, 5 points behind us. There's another highlight for Salisbury. There's another goal kick from Parks. Here's May, though. He's put a ball towards Green. He might get to that, actually, ahead of Partridge, but Partridge is able to get to it. And here's Parks back in goal. Osborne, though, wins the header. Might have gambled a bit too much there. Salisbury have now got the possession again in this midfield area. Here's Pike. Ball up towards Blair, but Osborne's there to cut it out. Mistake, though, I think, from Osborne. He's lost it to Blair, and Blair has taken advantage of that, and it's 2-0. That's a really, really poor mistake from Osborne there. One of our better players, actually, in terms of star rating, but he was put under pressure there, and he just completely scuffed the clearance into Blair, and he profits from that, and Bills can't do anything about it. Osborne's now on a 6.0 after that disappointment there. We've got another highlight for Salisbury, instant highlight pretty much. Here's Butler on this right hand side of the right back position. Pike to Reynolds. This looks like a complete demolition. I've fallen into so many Football Manager traps here of not closing the game off after we were on a good run of form, naming players beforehand on the opposition, and also also the fact that we've had a really good record against them. I missed the last highlight there, but fortunately Bills was able to save it. And here's Carilla now, ball up towards Green, but it's won back by Partridge. May wins it though, but then just gives it. It's so easy to Salisbury back four. And here's Waldron though, ball up towards Difford, but again, simple thing that was dealt with by the number 6 Upson there. And here's Thompson, the wing back on this left hand side. Bonner though wins it back though, and here's Difford, might play a ball to Green, which he has done, might take a shot, and Parks with a great save for Salisbury there. And I think that was our first clear-cut chance of the game, as we now have a resulting corner from that, but it's easily cleared away and booted out of play by Reynolds. And we're coming up towards half time now. We really need to get something going in this dressing room here, because we have not been playing very good at the moment. I'm going to go assertive. I'm going to go for that and see if that does anything. Everybody's looking fired up, which is fantastic, but the ratings on most of the players don't look very good, especially Carrillo and also Osborne, so we might have to take one of these guys off a bit later on in the game if they're not improving. But we'll keep it as it is for now, but then we'll make changes if necessary. And we actually might go on attacking as well, because we've got to try and get back in the game here. And that will probably be the only way we do that. If we concede more, it's one of those things. As there was a ball played up to Green, and that's the end of the highlights. Right, Bills with a goal kick, or free kick I think, because he was well outside his area. Up to the ball up with it's a bit of head tennis there from the two sets of players. Here's May up to the other May, Carrillo, May to Simeon. I'm going to call him Simeon now because I mentioned that before when I had both those Mays playing. Simeon puts the ball up towards Green, might have a chance here, but he scuffed the shot wide, and that was another good opportunity for Green right there to add to his tally. He's now on a 6.0. I actually might have to bring him off here because he's not doing very well. He seems frustrated as well, so I'm going to bring him off and bring on Marshall Katung and see if he can provide an impact here, because he's not played very well at all today. Unfortunately, our top goal scorer here today, top goal scorer of the season. Free kick for Salisbury, Butler to Reynolds, one back though by Marshall Katung, and May just clears it upfield, which to absolutely nobody. We kind of want to get possession back though, and here's the goalkeeper Parks, but it's well won back by Waldron from the free kick, or from that kick, but Difford gave it away there unfortunately, and it's now back in the goalkeeper's feet in Parks, and a ball up towards Blair, but it's won back by Utteridge. Here's Simeon, loses it out to Pike though, and here's Wallace to Reynolds, who might place a ball to Partridge to Butler. Really good play from Salisbury here. Pike to Wallace, and that is the third goal. That is a really well worked goal by Salisbury, and there's a reason why their goal difference is at plus 39 this season, because of nice little moves like that. Butler with a nice pass to Pike, who then plays a one-time pass to Wallace. Osifua playing on Wallace on side there, unfortunately. I don't understand why our offside trap didn't work there, especially as we've got the offside trap setting on. Right, sorry, I nearly had a sneeze there. I was mentioning Danny Rawson's going to come off because number one, he's got a yellow card. Number two, his rating's not very good. Although I could take off Harry Osborne, but I don't want to sound like I'm being so negative in terms of the substitutions, because we need to get back in this game. We need something that can change the game. Of course, if we concede more, then that's not good. But we need to try and do something in the midfield here, or just something we can do to try and get back in this game with 25 minutes to play. If they score a fourth, though, I probably will take off Osborne and bring on a new defender. Right, final change here. We've got 15 minutes remaining. Nothing's really going our way at the moment, so I am going to take off Osborne. Been very, very disappointed today with a 5.9. He might not play the next game, actually, just to give him a little bit of a reality check. If you don't play well, you're not going to get in the game. Yes, he seems composed, but he's not played. He's played like rubbish today, and we're going to take him off and bring on Jordan Goff at centre-back. Right, free kick for Wolf. He's taking the shot, and Parks makes a brilliant save. That's a fantastic strike from Wolf there, and unfortunately for us, it doesn't go in the back of the net. Entering the last couple of minutes now of the game, and it's been a really, really disappointing affair from our side. We've not really created any. We had two good chances in the entire, 2 or 3 good chances which we haven't taken. differ the ball across the face of goal, which nearly goes out of play. Marshall Couture then pulls it back, but Wills is there to clear it away, and that is the end of the match. A disappointing 3-0 defeat against the current league leaders. So I'm disappointed, to be honest. I don't really want to say that though, because I want to say something. I don't want to say we're going to go top of the table. I'm going to say that a couple of players seemed demotivated. Yes, Ridge, you had a okayish game. Phil Wolf, you had an okayish game, looking demotivated and stressed. But the majority of the other players didn't show up, especially guys like Josh Green, Osborne as well, who had a below 6 average, which was, I think, the first time he's had that in the time he's been here. I'm not 100% sure off the top of my head though. So we've just got to bounce back from this, and hopefully now we're going to have to rely on Salisbury messing up if we're going to have any chance of overhauling them again and actually taking the league title. But it looks more and more likely that we're going to be in a playoff battle with most of these other guys, along with Merthyr Town and whoever makes it into the playoffs out of Dorchester, Truro, Brackley, Basingstoke and Weymouth. So won't be one of those things. I think also Hereford actually coming back into it. They're on 53 points, so 5 points back off the playoffs. So they could be a dark horse as well to reach the playoffs, which would be very, very interesting. But we've got to move on from this disappointing result. Jazz Wallace with 2 goals and Marley Blair with a goal. We're now going to move on into the next set of matches. Okay, like I mentioned in the this last episode, I think in the previous episode before that, I am going to do the last game of the season, which is away against at Leamington. The only massive games that we've got left, I think, of the season are away at Dorchester, who are currently sit 4th, and at home to Basingstoke, who are fighting for a playoff spot. Everyone else is roughly in that mid-table or in the relegation battle. So I'm going to accelerate away all the way up to the Leamington game. Hopefully, we'll have to just wait and see what happens in terms of the table and see what happens to Salisbury and everyone else that is trying to make the playoffs as to what actually happens. If by the time we get to the Leamington game, our position in the playoffs is secure, then it's really a meaningless game. But one of those things, I guess. And then the next episode after the Leamington game will then be the playoff matches, which will be absolutely crucial. Absolutely crucial because I think it's just single legs. I'm not 100% sure on that. I'm pretty sure it is only single leg matches. So it's another 2 games to end the season. And if we win those 2 games, we get promoted to the probably the National League South, which would be fantastic. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode, despite the really disappointing performance of a 3-0 defeat against the league leaders, and pretty much a big momentum killer when it comes to our possible title ambitions. But it's one of those things, and we just got to bounce back in these next set of 8-9 games left in the remaining of the season, and hopefully we get some favours. Actually, I don't think Salisbury have got some big games left coming up. They've got Basingstoke. They've got the League Cup semi-final against Guernsey, but they should win that. They've got Brackley at home, and they've also got Basingstoke at home. So those are 2 massive games for those 2 clubs, especially Brackley and Basingstoke, because of the fact they're fighting in the playoffs. St Neots probably not so much. And then they were away at Leamington as well, like we are at the end of the season. So hopefully Leamington can do us a favour and actually win against Salisbury, but then lose against us. Probably won't happen because it's just how it is. Also, I forgot to mention that actually Steve Claridge is the manager of Salisbury. If those of you don't know, he used to be a football pundit on Football Focus and Final Score. He didn't have very nice things to say about my overachievement at Histon, which was a bit disappointing, a lacking class of a man that I thought did have class in Steve Claridge. Always had massive respect for smaller teams, in my opinion, considering the fact he was a player that moved around a lot the smaller teams in the football league. Was a really good player though at that time, but he was really more of a journeyman going around the different teams, different leagues, etc. He was a good player though, and I have respect for him as a player. But in this game, he's kind of lost my respect after he had a couple of not nice things to say about me. So we will probably have to we'll probably meet again and a bit later on down in the series. And let's hope we can shut him up here and try and get bounced back from this disappointing defeat. But despite that, I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you all for the next episode, which will be the final game of the league season against Leamington, and then we'll probably have another episode to end the season, which will be the playoffs. So until the Leamington game, guys, I will see you later.